You can kill me, but you will never destroy me. It takes strength to resist the dark side.
Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
Are you kidding? Why the hell should I wait for you?
I know what it's like to try and rebuild a life. I had a bad day too, once.
If you're having nightmares, then welcome to the club. My name's Subaru Natsuki, and I am the Knight of Amelia.
Right now, all I can give you is just death.
It wasn't for you in particular.
You fought 100 men because it's not in your nature to run away.
If you are feeling disheartened, that you are somehow not enough, set your heart ablaze.
Well, welcome back to my regular weekend show where I talk about anime news, all that sort of stuff. And it was kind of slow this week. Why is my light all fucked up? Hold on a second. There we go. It's a little bit better. It's kind of a slow week. Not a whole lot happened. I picked up a couple of extra things right at the end of the week here that could be interesting because they're particularly relevant to some of the seasonal anime I've been covering. And, well, you know how it is. But most of tonight is going to be talking about anime because I do have a lot of thoughts about this week. There has certainly been quite a huge chunk of anime that has been particularly good in week 5. And I say week 5 because most episodes are in their 5th episode of the season. But yeah, basically there is, as far as news goes, there is Amaku MD getting into a little bit of a kerfuffle, which is one of my favorite anime of the week. There was the Crunchyroll hacking and a thing that brought a lot of attention to their terms of service. We're going to talk a little bit in depth about Ube Blit, and because I have some thoughts on that. And then just some memes and silly stuff to wrap up the end of the stream. But other than that, it is time to break into all the weekly anime stuff that we do. So, let's bring this up. This is where we left off last week. And, gotta pull up my notes again, of course. Always prepared. Always forgetting something. Like, I completely forgot that Trillion game was a thing this week. It's like, every week, there's always something that I just completely forget to watch. Or don't get around to at all because I'm stuck for time. Excuse me. Something's wrong. I'm getting my notes from last week instead of... Yeah, that's what I thought. Why are you being like this? Hold on a second. It's not updating my freaking Google Doc. All right, I guess I'm just bouncing back and forth. So, we're going to start with hi, JM. How you doing? We're going to start with talking quickly about 100 Girlfriends because, well, this show airs on a Sunday. It's one of the first things I watch, and just so happened to be that I got around to this one before Shangri-La Frontier this week. They did the Maida introduction this week with the whole thing about Shizuka doing her attempt to startle Maida. There was the whole baby thing Yeah, that was actually this week. The baby thing was this week. It was a good episode, but I don't know if I want to like swing it around anymore. I wouldn't put it up into the must watch category. It's just kind of there. Um okay, making sure we're picking up the right thing here. It was a good. It was funny with all of the stuff about the babification and Hahari being one of the craziest girls. And there's a whole bit in the manga about like who is the most quote unquote dangerous member of the Rentaro family. Turns out it's Rentaro himself. But I thought it was a pretty good thing going for particularly the Hanazonos between the mother and daughter. They had that little bit about their appreciation for each other, and of course the usual comedy elements of it were present. So it's still very good. I just don't know if I want to move it up. Shangri-La Frontier, after this last episode, I'm moving it down. Because I don't know how I feel about that one. It focused a lot on Pencilgon and Oikatsu, and it covered like quite a bit of what they were doing while Sanraku's been doing this progress march. And I don't know, it just wasn't all that great of an episode. But I mean, I'm sure it'll get better. I'm sure this is a one-off thing that we're going to go back to the characters that we're actually focusing on and the good parts of Shangri-La Frontier. But at least they are trying to like keep you up to date with the side cast. It just felt like this whole thing was like a huge waste of an episode to cover what's going on with Oikatsu and Pencilgon. But let's talk about I Have a Crush at Work. I actually really liked this latest episode, so I'm moving it up. I mean, there was another spicy scene in it. There was Yui's anxiety over her product success. And honestly, I found that part a little bit relatable because you can like pour your heart out into a project and make it the best you possibly can. And it just doesn't perform as well as you would hope. Like I've been there, I've done that making videos here on YouTube. That's something I honestly felt. It was also funny seeing her getting jealous over all the girls complimenting her boyfriend. She's sitting there like acting all possessive over it. It was a cute little moment and a good moment for the series. Probably one of the better episodes of the week. Now, another one that I thought was kind of this week was I Want to Escape from Princess Lessons. So now the main character is learning how to put her foot down and deal with this very aggressive prince, Clark. But it's mostly kind of burdened with this like sad undertone of she just wants to live her life and everyone else is forcing her into this whole marriage thing, which isn't like unusual or whatever. It's just kind of like depressing to watch a character have to deal with a situation or to deal with the situation. And I genuinely feel like Clark needs to be punished more for his actions because, again, he is being incredibly possessive. I don't know. I just didn't like that last episode. The Red Ranger becomes an adventure in another world. I did a video on this week. And it's still just in the okay category. I do like the magic system, but I feel like the gimmick on it is running out of life. And the only character I am truly like fully invested in seeing their story unfold is Idra. The one who is constantly making comments about how Red's powers just don't make sense and how they're ridiculous and over the top, and yeah. It's it's a series. It's one of the anime of all time. Like I said in my video about this, it's not particularly amazing, but it does have some good things. It's good for a good laugh, but I don't think it's particularly the most amazing series out there. One that did have a really, really good episode this week was Tying the Knot with an Amagami Sister. And I actually do want to move that way up because, well, the supernatural elements are really what's making this one like distinct from the rest of the crowd. Particularly with like the time loop getting resolved, and with certain developments concerning Asahi. I thought that was a really good part. It's also interesting that there's the implication that the mentor lady, I forget her name, the other or the lady who is in charge of the other shrine, also was aware of the loops and was aware of the entity that's responsible for them. So I liked it. I thought it did a really good job with Asahi as a character. Sorry, me spacing in between here, trying to keep up with everything that I'm handling right now. I'm curious to see where it's going to go because now 2 out of the 3 sisters have had their moment with Uryu. So I'm wondering what it's all going to amount to as far as Yuna goes. Because Yaya and Asahi have had their moment. Personally thought Asahi was the better one of them, but still all around good character work. It's been funny. I've liked the supernatural elements of it. It's done really well at doing at handling all of its elements. So solid series. If you're into harem romance and a little bit of like the supernatural part of it, it is very, very good, and I do recommend it. Let's talk next about Zenshu. So this one has been all right. The animation is continually good, and Natsuko's ideas of how to resolve every situation have been funny, but I don't know. It feels a little like the magic's wearing off of it. I mean, the latest episode, I mean, the elf girl is nihilistic and suicidal because of how long she's lived. She's sick and tired of losing people. I've heard that whole spiel before. I'm not exactly unfamiliar with that game. But now it looks like the series is going to be moving into completely uncharted territory because, well, they have since moved past like the very end of the movie, it seems. So I'm wondering what they're going to do with Natsuko from here on out. It does also seem to imply that Luke clearly has a thing for her, which I felt like was the obvious conclusion that things were going to come to as this series progressed, considering the whole I struggle with first love sort of thing. And who knows, maybe she could end up going back to her own world because she's not actually dead, just hallucinating due to the freaking clams she ate. Dad's been reincarnated. Now, this episode was actually fan freaking tastic. And this show is consistently one of my favorites throughout the season. A huge twist in this latest episode, which I will not talk too much about because I feel like people who haven't seen the series should go experience it for themselves. But we do get to see a lot about Kenzo's family, like his life before getting isekai and all that. It was good stuff regarding that. We also get to see that Grace summons a beast with 2 elements, which was an interesting little bit of storytelling there. There was some fun little things they did for the animation and all that. But now I'm really interested to see where this story is going to go. Of course, there was the humor of everyone talking about how like they were really excited to see what Grace's affinity was going to be because they're all like really excited about like who's she going to be most compatible with, who is she going to want to talk to, who is she going to want to who she's going to be most compatible with. It's pretty much the big thing. Who's going to work well with her because everyone's all in love with Grace. Try not to think about it too much. Great episode, but I still don't think it is better than the top 2. It honestly, like, this is what I like about doing a lot of like the seasonal stuff and covering these as weekly as I do, and watching as much as I have, is sometimes you get things that are just genuinely really, really good. And you wouldn't expect them to be good. Like I thought from Bureaucrat to Villainess was going to be like a gimmicky, dumb show that's just like a throwaway. But no, it turns out it's really, really good. Unfortunately, though, it has to compete with, for me, it has to compete with Apothecary Diaries and ReZero for those top 2 slots, which you're just not going to get, or you're very, very unlikely to surpass either of those 2. Let's talk about this one. Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf. Honestly, a lot of good slice of life stuff. It looks like the Save the Cat Child thing is an actual incoming plot point. And there was also the stuff about Maribel meeting the librarian that was pretty endearing. There was the earthquake stuff too. I thought that was funny. Like just a mild thing that happens pretty regularly in Japan, freaking her out because earthquakes aren't exactly regular in all parts of the world. She comes running out of the bath completely naked because she's scared. That joke's been done a couple of times already. Man, I'm tired. There was also the stuff with the cat. And it looks like the next episode is going to be their proper return to the fantasy side of the 2 worlds to try and deal with the bandits who are now attacking them. Don't really think there's much else to say on that one. It's a good series, and it's still in the interesting category. Like I said, slice of life, comedy, a little bit of romance in there. It's good for that stuff. It's a good, relaxing show. If it had a dub, I would say this is probably one that would be good to watch, like dub, to just as completely unwind, play some games or something like, I don't know, turn on Minecraft, listen to some dubbed anime, move on with your life. I know I have people in my chat who will probably be upset by the idea of suggesting dubs, but let me just be clear. I have never really cared much about, I've never really cared much when people complain about dubs. I think there are advantages both to subs and dubs, and people who lean one way or the other are completely missing the experience. Like there's legitimacy to complaining about the fact that dub voice actors can be really cringy and bad. But if you say all dubs suck and all dubbing voice actors suck, I think you are like objectively just wrong. Because people like Patrick Sates and Ian Sinclair are really, really good voice actors. All right. I'm getting married to a girl in class that I hate. This one had a really good episode this week. So I'm moving it all the way up to the middle of very good. I still feel like even in this far, its pacing is kind of on the fast side, and certain interactions are very, very brief when they shouldn't be. But it's still delivering very well on character development. We are now seeing so Himari, we're seeing some of Himari's attempts to try and get Saito interested in her. Akane is finally starting to come to terms with her feelings, and she's still in full tsundere mode, but she is much, much more vocal about how she feels about Saito now. It was good. The whole thing about her not wanting him to go on a date with Himari and her not wanting him to abandon her, pretty much. Like, she is genuinely attached. And the fact that he's also showing that same attachment to her, like when he decides he wants to investigate how she actually feels when he overhears her saying that she hates him. I think they've got a good dynamic going. They just both need to be a bit more honest with each other about how they feel. But we'll get there. Probably sooner than we expect, to be honest. But yeah, this is one of the better episodes of the week. Married to the Girl That I Hate had a fantastic episode. Dragon Ball Daima. Oh, this is one that I just honestly, I'm not a fan. I'm genuinely not all that impressed with it. Look, I liked the fight with Tamagami number 1. Or not number 1, number 3. Tamagami number 2 was cool because it was Vegeta focused and there was the whole Super Saiyan 3 thing. But outside of those two moments, it's been pretty meh, actually. Like the knockoff version of the Ginyu Force was absolutely as much of a disappointment as I expected them to be. And I mean, things have pretty much gotten to the point where, Vegeta and Goku are gonna have to fight Ku and Do. Cool. I don't really care for those villains. Like, that's one of the big things about this series is the villains haven't been all that interesting. Now they finally gave Goma his power up with the third demon eye, so we'll see where that goes. But like, I'm genuinely just not impressed with how this series has gone. I'm really only watching it at this point because it's Dragon Ball, and I feel like if I put it in, I feel like it's going to be a one-off thing, and it's going to end pretty quickly here, and I'm just watching it to the end. That's really my only interest in it, is I've invested this much into watching it, and I am committed to at least finishing it out. But other than that, there isn't really a whole lot in it for me to like continue to want to watch it. So I ended up giving this one last shot just because I was bored this week. And yeah, I wasn't too terribly impressed with it. Merchant daughter basically gets kidnapped. There's a rescue mission. The scummy bandit dude who's been in the background this whole time gets what he deserves. It was a really, really boring fucking fight scene, and I'm just done with the series. I'm not investing any more time into talking about it. It's basically just it's a bad harem series, especially when compared to other actual harem series like that tying the knot with an Amagami sister and 100 girlfriends. Also, A Rank Adventure. Those are all superior harem series. So if you're looking for something like that this season, I would recommend you check out the other three because, well, frankly, it's just middle-aged. The daily life of a middle-aged shopper just ain't worth watching. Even given the worthless appraiser class, I'm actually the strongest. This one is turning out to be very. So my two of my favorite three are in the not for me. What the fuck? Yeah. Look, that's just how it is. I mean, everyone's gonna have their own taste, and that's why, like, I reserve the bad for literally just. I don't want to touch it because, as far as like some series go, they do have their entertainment value. Like, I've even talked to other people like about Fruit Master, and they said I actually enjoy Fruit. I have people who I've streamed with who have said they enjoy Fruit Master. Meanwhile, I'm just like, I don't want to touch it. Like, I'm not terribly interested. It really comes down to taste, and yeah. So sorry if I've disappointed you by not having the exact same taste, but hey, that's the great thing about having a wide selection of anime to talk about is the fact that there's generally something that anyone can find in any given season. Even if you feel like it's sparse, there's at least one or two things you'll enjoy given seasonals. And if there's not, well, then just go back and watch some of the older stuff. Yeah, Fruit Master is okay. Love the neat one a lot. You know, I wanted to like it when I first started it, but after a couple of episodes, it was one that I just wasn't feeling. Hardly the worst thing out there. It's just, like I said, something I wasn't feeling. So appraiser class. So they basically turned our main character into Reinhardt with all his freaking skills that prevent him from taking damage, that prevent him from being ambushed, that make him automatically dodge, all that bullshit. Cool. So stereotypical, it's devolved into an absolute power fantasy and another harem series. And this is one I am considering dropping because it's getting more or less and less interesting to me. Yeah, Trillion Game's been good. Can't say I'm a huge fan of the art style, but I'm at least interested in the character dynamic between Haru and Gaku. Which, unfortunately, I didn't get around to watching that episode because amidst all the stuff that I was trying to catch up on, well, I completely forgot about that one. And I even did a double check to make sure I was hitting everything. But Appraiser. I don't know. This one's hitting the danger zone for being dropped. The only interesting part so far has been like Zoid somewhat coming to regret all his actions. But that's about it. One that I'm definitely dropping though, I think is I'll move it to the watch later category because at least I do have some It may be something that I will return to, maybe not. But I may be a noble on the brink of ruin, so maybe I'll try my hand at magic. This one, it really comes down to the way the story in the world is set up. The characters haven't been super like incredibly interesting. It's been a lot of like the stereotypical like generic fantasy stuff going on. I mean, you have this dragon. The designs for all of the familiars he can summon aren't very impressive either. They're really like they feel really cutesy and like simple. So I'm not going to watch this one anymore because I just don't feel like keeping up with the story. Like there's nothing there to really hook me into it. It feels like it's a lot of the stereotypical like handout power-ups to the main character kind of stuff. The world isn't terribly amazing. The girls all feel generic to the harem, so it's like okay, whatever. So yeah, that's another one that I'm going to have to get rid of. Let's talk about Orb now, though. And this one has been a very interesting one to keep up with because its art style is much more on like the realistic side, but it still looks somewhat good. Its story has been largely like they had a lot of opportunities to take their stabs at like religion and stuff, and honestly I respect them for being like very consistent with what it would have been at the time. Like there are a bunch of different people who have different views. Like you have the guy who is the naturalist, the girl who doesn't believe in God whatsoever, and then you have characters who are like, well, I'm doing all this research into heliocentrism because I believe God would make an orderly universe. I honestly respect the creators for going that far as to make it multiple different opinions across both sides and actually have some nuance in this whole debate, talking about something that is pure objective fact and not feeling the need to take a stab at like certain beliefs, particularly some of the more backwards things that the Roman Catholic Church was doing at the time. So I'm going to move this on up in the interesting category because genuinely it's been doing well at handling that. We have some of the like same characters who have been in the past arcs now taking center stage. I don't want to spoil it too much for anyone who hasn't watched it because I've gotten yelled at for saying too much when it comes to the plot of some of these. But I'm interested to see where they're going to take the story because now we have an inquisitor who is somewhat related to the leader of the quote unquote heliocentrist movement. So I'm genuinely curious to see how they're going to interact once they meet up. For that fact alone, like I wish they would have covered a little bit more, like the research of heliocentrism and the proofs put into it. But ultimately ends up being a minor complaint because it focuses more on the religious persecution aspect of it, which is still entirely accurate to the period. Let's talk about Sakamoto Days. Now, I do like this one. It's still fun to watch. It's just another one where as time goes on, I'm feeling like I'm remembering why I stopped reading the manga for this one. It was all right, but if your biggest draw is going to be the fight scenes and you've got to compete with something like solo leveling this season, you're going to have a hard time. So if people love Sakamoto Days, fine, go ahead. By all means, it's cool, but I'm not really terribly invested in the characters, although I did like the way they resolved the boiled fight. It gave us some more world building on how like the underworld of this fictional Earth works. But it was just kind of an overall okay episode this week. I mean, it was an entertaining fight to wrap up the whole boiled thing. But I wouldn't say it's spectacular. Now, if we're going to talk about something that actually did some spectacular stuff, well, we actually have to talk about the one I just mentioned, Solo Leveling. So with Solo Leveling, I feel like this one is more so just setting up for like a really, really big climactic fight next week. But they did still have some pretty good action with the initial introduction to the orcs. So we also had the like first interaction between Jinwoo and Hein, Cha Hein. I always forget how her name is pronounced. Perks of being raised in a hillbilly town, you know? Gotta love it. Either way, she did the whole smell thing, like he actually smells kind of good, and now she started to fall for him. A little weird, but I still like her over a lot of the other female characters who are introduced in the series because, well, they don't really get much screen time and they don't really do much as far as I've read. Still, this one's probably going to have an explosive episode next week. So I would look forward to it. But the consistent problem with Solo Leveling is I don't care about the characters and I don't care about the story. I'm literally sitting here waiting for Jinwoo to flex and give me a really cool looking fight scene. And now Solo Leveling is definitely a good, entertaining series. But like many of the things that I've said are good and entertaining, they're by far not masterpieces. The action was solid, but most of it was just setting up for next week's big climactic fight for this little dungeon that's going on. Now let's talk about Blue Box. And consistently, the problem with Blue Box, I think I've said this about every week now, is that if you're going to try and convince me that Taiki would prefer Chinatsu over Hina, you have to actually make Chinatsu a more appealing character than Hina. Otherwise, the audience in general is going to feel like the story is just going the wrong direction because Hina's clearly the better character. Like, even in this, when she's doing the rehearsal stuff, she was a much more appealing character than Chinatsu, provided that she actually had more time in this episode. But across the entire series, like, I can understand like why you would I can understand why someone in a vacuum would like Chinatsu. Like, as a character, she's not horrible. She's actually a pretty endearing person. But if you have to pick between, if you made me pick between Hina and Chinatsu, given the chemistry they have with Taiki, Hina's the better character. Otherwise, I like this series like bend towards like the motivation and the drive to chase your dreams. I do like that it talks about how it takes hard work to actually be the best and to actually win. It isn't just raw talent. Like, a lot of these people have to, everyone who's involved in the series has to put in the work to be number one. I do like those elements. They do a really good job of showing that stuff. So for a sports anime, that element is great. Just for anime in general, that element is great. The storytelling has been good. But you're losing me with trying to sell me on Chinatsu when it comes to the two of them. Pardon me. Now this next episode's rematch could be good. And I also did like the whole comment between Chinatsu and Haryu, where they're talking about how, like, in not so many words, Chinatsu basically tells Haryu that he should help Taiki out. And he effectively responds, well, who's going to help me out? And that is their whole conversation about water, where basically like it's kind of like meta. It's a little bit more deep than just talking about sharing water or anything. It's literally they're talking about how like he's the one that everyone is looking to help improve themselves, and he's there like, how am I supposed to improve if no one else can share these tips with me? Interesting little thing. May I have read? I think I said that right. May I have read into that too deeply? There's probably an argument for that there, but I don't think it's like quite wrong. I think it fits pretty well within the series. That being said, I don't think I want to move Blue Box around. It's still a very good series. It's just it's kind of clinging on to that bottom spot. Well, not bottom spot in the very good category. Let's talk about the one shoujo anime I am watching this season, Honey Lemon Soda. So I liked part 1 of this episode because it actually did show a good bit of character development for Ishimori. I like that it actually showed that she was like putting in effort to try and change herself. She was getting out of her comfort zone, being a little bit more friendly and interactive with her class, and not just sitting there and taking everything like she was supposed to. But then sort of started forcing the drama by bringing up this idea that maybe she's not advanced all that much, and like she shouldn't be clinging to Mira so much. Again, I make the same complaint every week about how its music choices just feel like they're shorting this series, because they have this like really like emotional sort of undertone to the music going while something funny and silly is going on. So as far as Honey Lemon Soda goes, I think it's going to stay there, because I don't know if I really want to move it around. I don't think it deserves to jump up or do anything else. It consistently feels like part 1 of an episode will be like funny and uplifting. Part 2 will be drama heavy and a little bit more downcast. Like consistently. And now we talked about Blue Box and the chosen heroine not being as good as the losing heroine. We're going to get to another one of those anime here tonight. And that would be Okitsura. Now, Okitsura, I consistently love Kana more than who's the other girl? Why do I always forget the other girl's name? Okitsura. Thank you, my anime list. The fact that this has a Hina. Ironically, this one's Hina is worse than its Kana. But yes, Okitsura. I like the language jokes, like the eat shit part was hilarious to me. Where he doesn't understand the culture or why they say the things they do. So she tells him to eat shit after he sneezes and doesn't explain what it means. And one of her friends jumps in and is just like, yeah, it means eat shit. That was funny to me. There was a lot of good stuff about like the let's go shopping thing, where they basically went and hung out after she was all nervous about asking him to do anything with her, and she ended up getting the date just by accident because he completely misunderstood what she was saying. And at the very end, it seems like they kind of like both try to invite each other out, but don't realize which version of let's meet up they were using. Hey, Marcel, how you doing? It don't matter that you're late, just that you're here. The radio calisthenics bit was also funny. I've consistently really liked Okitsura, especially the more and more they give like Hina or not Hina, Kana screen time, because again, the best girl. It's got the same problem as well, not the same problem as Blue Box, because it kind of seems like it's not fully selling us on Hina and focuses a whole lot more on Kana. So I'm really hoping she does actually win. Okay. Amiku MD. So I like that they have just continued to add layer upon layer to the curse thing. Nice to see him getting close though. Confuse their names. Yeah, the blonde one. The blonde one is definitely my favorite when it comes to Okitsura. Where was I? Amakumdi. So they're adding layer upon layer to this whole curse that's been going on. Now we had the first part, which was the disease. The second part, which was kind of predictable. What ended up happening there was effectively what I imagined was going to happen when certain things were first introduced in episode 3, I think it was, or episode 4, I think, actually. But now that they're going into a third part to this whole curse, I am really intrigued to see what's going on, because I'm at a loss. Like, completely at a loss. I mean, I have some suspicions as to what's actually going on with this, but it could very well pull a sneaky on me. So also this episode giving Takahashi a bit more of a spotlight and letting him do some of the mystery solving and stuff was a good element to actually make it feel like he's a proper part of the cast, because most of the time he gets overshadowed by Tako. So good episode so far. I'm curious to see how this whole curse thing wraps up. That said, I don't know if I would move it into the must watch category. It's kind of just a very good. As long as we're on the topic of mystery, let's talk about the Apothecary Diaries, which presented us with a solid like brain teaser about how the twins could escape the room. There was the whole special envoy issue, which seems like it's something that's growing to be a big part of this upcoming story. And then they end the episode with the jokes about how they should force Jinshi to pretend to be a woman because he's beautiful. I'll ignore that, Arceus. I've loved this series so far. And I'm really curious because after season 1, the way they looped back and tied everything together, I am very, very curious to see what they do at the end of this season. Because if it all ties together in the same way again, I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. Again, it's always like small little details that you don't pay attention to in the series that add up to like really, really big, important reveals once everything starts to get put together. Pick up Medaka and I'll do the same. Look, I've read 12 volumes of Medaka, so I'm farther than the anime will probably cover. And honestly, I haven't really been incentivized to read any further than that. But hey, everyone has their tastes. I just really like mystery fiction, and this suits my palate a whole lot more. Now let's talk about A Rank Party. Like I said, another like harem fantasy series that's going on. There was the whole new outfits thing. There was a lot of joking, not joking, humor centered around the idea of all the girls liking him and having their own things that like they want him to compliment them on. Like the blue-haired girl, the Roxy McGurdia stand-in, being all up in arms about him not complimenting the change in her bow. It is good, genuinely. And this week, I'm moving it up to the interesting category because I'm at least interested in the romance, quote unquote, element between all of the characters. Like that in and of itself is enough reason for me to keep watching it. So it's pretty much getting promoted to the interesting category solely on that fact. I also, like I have said multiple times, I like the spell system, the colors that they use for everything. It's bright, it looks unique. It doesn't have the same usual fantasy thing. I also like that they have a few unique elements going for it. There's some good storytelling moments in it. All in all, I've enjoyed it, and I did like the episode where Yuke basically chewed out Simon was his name, I guess. Honestly, that one's gotten consistently better across the season. So we've done A Rank Party. Guild Receptionist. So we're gonna move this one up. So I caught up on the 2 episodes for this, and I do like that. Because let me explain myself. The site I generally use didn't have the episode 3 available last week, and I'm kind of glad that I got to watch these last 2 episodes back to back because I think I would have been a little bit upset with how they did that. However, it was good. I do like that they have a little bit more world building. Some of the naming schemes and stuff have actually been pretty cool. Like for some reason, I just really like the name like that they used for this dungeon, the Chalk Tower. Hot takes are appreciated because it means at least you have your own opinion and you're willing to stick by it. I'll save my hot takes for maybe another stream or something like that. But having your own opinion isn't a bad thing. I don't mind people having hot takes. I'm not going to slam someone over fiction for not liking the exact same things I like. So back to Guild Receptionist. The Dark God stuff was interesting. I like that they have a little bit of progress with Jade and Alina. We also get to see a little bit of Alina's backstory in this one. So it did good character development, storytelling, and a little bit of world building. Not terribly interested in it, but overall, still a good experience. I liked those last 2 episodes. Is there anything else I haven't touched in here? ReZero doesn't come back till next week. We've talked about all of these. Amaku, I've talked about all of these. Every one of these except Trillion Game, because for some reason I didn't get around to Trillion Game. Talked about the Red Ranger. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this last one and move into like one of the first news segments of tonight, like one of the big segments that I did want to cover. And it's particularly just discussing Ubelblet. The same issues continue to persist across this whole thing. I feel like they throw out a bunch of like terminology and country names that you're just sort of expected to know or like keep track of, but it doesn't really mean anything to the viewer or to anyone watching because you don't know what they're talking about. Now, that said, I do like the idea of like the wish tech magic, or the country of wish tech or whatever it is, having like their own system, like dark magic and all that, and the fact that Coinzel and I forget what the dude's name is in this latest episode, but they both have some ability linked to that. I don't know. I like the dark fantasy elements of it. I feel like on the production side, though, like it really, really reminds me of failure frame levels of bad effects, bad fight scenes. But I'm intrigued by the story. Some of the characters have gotten better. It just feels like some of the resolutions they reach don't make sense. Like, was it ever explained what exactly happened to the Griffin Rider chick's brother? Like, what exactly Coinzel did to the guy? I feel like there's a lot of pieces left on the table that just shouldn't be. That's okay, Marcel. And Arceus rules for $2. Sorry it ain't much, bro, but love you, bro. Thanks. I appreciate it. Like, genuinely. It means a lot to see people. Sorry. It means a lot to me to see people actually like send super chats and stuff and gift memberships and all that. Because, well, I mean, I'm glad people enjoy the show. So to this, Ubelbled is a bit difficult for me. The world and story is interesting, but it often doesn't make sense to me. Like you said, it's confusing. Yes, like where Berserk would take its time to try like to sort of like establish things, and it wouldn't throw too much terminology at you to the point where it was actually confusing and muddying your experience. This one just seems to feel like if it throws out a bunch of country names, it makes it sound smarter. And like they're building the world through these dialogue options. But like all it ends up doing is really just sort of destroying your experience and your immersion, because all of a sudden you're wondering, wait, hold on. What are they talking about? Pardon that. And now this was actually one of the things I did want to talk about, because I'm simultaneously infuriated and very intrigued by Ubelbled. So let's go over to my anime list a little bit. And I will make this bigger so that everyone can see. But I was reading some of the reviews to see what people think about it. And I mean, this has how many users have 4,308 users have rated this. So this is a decent number of reviews. So I mean, The Terrible Curse of Dark Fantasy, whether it's Berserk 2016 or Ubelbled in 2025, big studios don't want to risk adapting dark fantasy, so it's smaller studios that have the rights. So we end up in this kind of massacre. The animation is bright and the scenes are very pure. Has it become a shonen for all audiences? Ubelbled is basically very dark and ultra sexualized. It's ultra disappointing. Plus, the fights are very ugly and PowerPoint compared to the drawing of Eteroji Shinjo, or Shiono. And when the fights in the anime are less good than those in the manga, it shows that there is a big problem. I don't advise against it because I still like discovering the manga that I love in anime, but it's butchered. It's as if Disney had the license of The Lord of the Rings and made a trilogy with Saruman played by Adam Driver. It's watchable, but it's still bad. So this was actually something interesting. This guy actually linked some let's see here. If I can highlight this and we can go to the image. So here's the anime of the character. Here's the anime picture of the character. Where's the over sexualization though? I think he's talking about the manga. The manga is supposed to probably be a little bit more heavily sexualized, because when I saw this listed here, actually let me bring this up because I'm pretty sure it still has. Oh no, it doesn't. It was tagged as ecchi before the season started, and you can probably go back into my my streams and see when I did the so let's open this image. So here is the art style of the manga, which actually looks really freaking cool. Vos Aves. So sorry, it's in French. But like the art style actually looks really, really good. Like that character, whatever it is, the design is just completely basic as compared to this. Like I might actually go look up the manga for this because it seems somewhat interesting. And now what did the other ones show us? Oops. I'm curious. Oh boy, we may get some I may not be able to show one of these. Oops. Come on. Come on, Crimson. Oh, yeah, no, can't show that. I cannot show that. Holy shit. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I can't show that other I can't show that other panel because there are literally like full titties hanging out. So it looks like the manga for this one is definitely better. And here's one of the things I will say is actually would be an advantage to the manga. One of the big things that I find difficult about this series is the fact that you'll be reading you'll be reading the subs and they talk so fast that it's hard to keep up with all the new terminology that's being thrown at you. Being able to read it in manga format would allow us to actually sit there and, you know, think about what's being said. And closing the scoreboard of the Statelight Staple Studio with the collaboration of the entertainment studio here, we have Ubel Blett, a dark fantasy anime that is left with a total of 3 points, since the only one that the studio could do well was Sentai Red Isekai. Okay. So this is the same studio doing The Red Ranger Became an Adventurer in Another World? Fuck. They had it totally easy in adapting this manga since it finished its first part, having the complete material to make a fun anime for the manga readers and the new public that will now have to read it to understand the plot, since the studio did not want to understand the story and decided to skip certain scenes of high explicit fan service, skip arcs, omit characters giving results in a mediocre free adaptation, because they will surely continue to remove them if they manage to have the budget of the second season if it comes. In the animation, there's okay, so yeah, Idra. So this one, I'm actually curious now. I'm probably going to do a video on this upcoming week, Ubel Blett, because of some of these reviews that I'm seeing, with people talking about like just how badly this anime has been butchered. It intrigues me. because the art style actually looks pretty good. And from what this guy is saying here in this review, I know I didn't show it because I had my face up here, but well, I did read it aloud. They're skipping entire important pieces of context for the story, which may help the viewer understand what's going on. This almost feels like a Tokyo Ghoul incident from what I'm seeing. So, yeah, definitely going to go check out the manga. Sorry if it's freezing. I don't know what's going on, but I'm seeing freeze on one screen, nothing on the other. And it looks like I do have a bit of a connection issue here. So, if there's buffering or some issues, that's probably my end, because for some reason StreamYards is not getting a good connection right now. Either way, yes, I agree. ReZero next week is what I've been really, really looking forward to. So I'm genuinely really intrigued by Ubelblet, because a lot of the things in there, there's some solid concepts and stuff that make me really want to like check out the story. That's like the whole reason I keep watching, hoping it'll start to make sense. But now reading these reviews, I have come to understand that they've cut out entire sections of the story. But glad to see you like honey lemon soda. Yeah, actually, that one surprised me. I almost dropped it in the first episode because it was very shoujo, and I have a problem with things that get like really, really touchy-feely and terribly introspective like shoujo does. But this one, there was something about it that I actually did enjoy. So I guess look forward to this week after I've checked out a couple of after I've checked out Ubelblet, the manga, a little bit to see what's going on. And we'll get a full like breakdown of what's going on with that, because that anime is terribly hard to follow. But let's talk about this. So, Amaku MD, one of my favorite series to come out this season, like new series to come out this season, apparently had its own bit of controversy. So Amaku MD, Dr. Detective author, pushes back against critic who railed against moe art style used in anime adaptations collab with Red Cross. If more people donate blood because of this poster, more people will be saved. Now, take some of the commentary with a grain of salt, because while I do like some of Bounding into Comics coverage, I feel like some of their stuff is a little bit too biased, especially as of late, the more I've read their articles. So the doctor is in. Rather than giving in to random internet outrage, Amaku MD, Dr. Detective light novel author Mikito Chinen has pushed back against a particularly puritanical critic who tried to cancel a blood drive collaboration between the series' anime adaptation and the Japanese Red Cross due to their particular distaste of the male-appealing moe art style used in the campaign poster. Hey, Pilgrim, Bounding into Comics is a major grifter. Yeah, some of their anime stuff is good coverage. That's why I generally use them. But outside of that, they really are very heavily grifty. Like, they used to be really good from what I hear, but they've transitioned more into like profiting off the culture war stuff as time has gone on. So deemed the House MD of anime by fans, the Project Number 9's animation Amaku MD Dr. Detective is an adaptation of the light novel series of the same name, as written by aforementioned Chin and illustrated by Noisy Ito. and follows the exploits of Taniki General Hospital Director of Investigative Pathology, Dr. Tako Amaku. Oh, it's Irish Shiratori from Dandadan, too. Okay, cool. As she puts her love of mystery and medical knowledge to work using the various medical curiosities that come through the facility. Given its setting and subject matter, it comes as no surprise that the anime adaptation was tapped to provide a friendly and appealing face to a new blood drive campaign currently being hosted by the Japanese Red Cross Society. As part of the campaign, Project Number 9 produced a promotional poster featuring the series' titular protagonist in a slightly tight-fitting nurse's uniform, striking a cute pose while holding a medical syringe and medical chart. The money started speaking. That sounds about right. It feels like a lot of things have gone that way. Oh, wrong button. I feel like a lot of people have just sort of like swung all the way into like the culture war stuff. Like you watch like the anti-woke stuff go on and everyone start talking about like railing against the first descendant and Stellar Blade and all that, and the hilarity that is Razor Fist getting bullied off the internet after his whole tough guy stick for years. I'd go to the doctor if she was my nurse. While most who saw the poster found themselves either enjoying the artwork or feeling indifferent to it, Twitter user Woo Boys not only found themselves unhappy with Dr. Amaku's sexualized appearance, but also went so far as to launch a full-on cancel campaign against the entire collaboration. A machine translated by Deep L, or a machine translated by Deep L, on January 16th, the unhappy user retweeted an image of the poster and declared, actual medical personnel should complain about this. The composition of the outfit, where the hair is not tied up, the handling of the syringe is perceived as fashion, and the cloth clinging to the crotch a staple of otaku moe art. They criticized, aren't these the kind of compositions and outfits that the Red Cross blood donors would not approve in the first place? So here's the tweet, apparently. Willing to let such pearl clutching go unanswered, Mikoto Chinen, who, in addition to being an author, is also a practicing doctor specializing in internal. That's very interesting. To answer your question, Pilgrim, he backed out of Side Scrollers, FNT, literally any live stream, because all he was getting was people asking him to clarify his position on the whole quote unquote Goonergate thing. People weren't even like going out there to like be dicks to him. They were just asking him questions and he couldn't take it, and he literally just he quit. It was kind of funny. Okay, so this guy actually being a doctor is a pretty cool little piece of information. So he took to Twitter the next day to personally address the critics' complaints. That probably explains why he knows so much about the actual medical field and all of these different conditions. That's write what you know. I am a medical professional, doctor, and the original author of this anime, wrote Chinen. This poster shows Takao, a doctor in a nurse costume, not an actual medical worker. And if more people donate blood because of this poster, more people will be saved by the blood products made from it. It's a cute and great poster, he concluded. Everyone, the Tokyo Red Cross Society and the anime are currently running a collaboration campaign. If you can, please donate blood. I absolutely agree, Pilgrim. Surprisingly, as many readers may recall, this is not the first time a blood drive related art collaboration between Japanese Red Cross and currently airing anime series has drawn the ire of such puritanical woke skulls. I'm guessing Uzaki-chan is the one they're going to reference. In 2020, the founder of the Japanese cultural news site Unseen Japan, Jay Allen, sparked a brief moral crusade against the Red Cross poster for featuring the busty namesake of Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out, as he felt the over-sexualized artwork contributed to countryside culture of rampant sexism. Just to clarify to anyone who doesn't know, Uzaki is a college girl with huge tits. Like absolutely massive. Like she is literally like the same body. This is one of the things people actually made the comparison. Uzaki-chan is the same body type as Abigail Shapiro, so that was a really, really fucking funny thing. However, his attempt to whip up a firestorm against the poster, yeah, there we go. And there's the actual image. So yeah. I mean, Uzaki-chan is right here in the background, if you can see her. Okay. So, honestly, because it's a slow news week, that's why I covered this. And it also had to do with an anime that I was talking about. Oh, you want more Uzaki-chan? Okay. Oops. Typing one-handed. Images. Let's see here. Let's share this tab, and we'll minimize my face. So yeah, there are plenty of images of this girl out there for all to see. Oh, here's one. Shit, I didn't think about that. Fuck you guys. Oh, I forgot this one is also a thing. But yes, this is an anime character that has absolutely triggered the shit out of feminists. It was hilarious because they got so bad that the season 2 trailer for this series talked about how they were going to continue down the same route because it annoyed people. I need a Nuzaki figure. I think I might need to get one too, to be honest. I just don't know which one I want to get. I may need to wait until I actually move out on my own to get one because I don't think I want to have to explain it to my parents. So yeah. We're gonna move into basically the biggest the biggest thing to talk about tonight. Why you don't hate Crunchyroll enough. Because this was one of the big issues that happened this week. Oops. There we go. That's the right button. Sorry, I'm feeling a little sick this week. Crunchyroll has recently come under fire due to an alleged data breach where users' credentials were posted publicly on social media by an individual. Sorry, I should read the title for this first, shouldn't I? there's a difference between a figure and a body pillow. There is, Pilgrim. There is. The body pillows are the ones I don't show people. So fact check. Crunchyroll didn't change their terms of service. It's always been bad. So this comes off the controversy of people discovering that Crunchyroll has changed their terms of service so that people are responsible for if this company gets hacked and their password is stolen. Well, it turns out that wasn't true. They didn't change it. That's always been there. So Crunchyroll has denied there was a data breach, claiming that the leak had nothing to do with their systems and the accounts were compromised due to account sharing and appearing to imply user negligence was to blame. We are aware that login credentials for several streaming services, including Crunchyroll, were posted on social media and have resolved the issue. We have secured the affected accounts, investigated the situation, and determined that there is no evidence that Crunchyroll systems have been compromised. Crunchyroll encourages subscribers to deliver and change passwords, or to diversify and change passwords regularly and keep them confidential. However, fans were quick to note a phrase in Crunchyroll's terms of service, which at a glance appears to remove any responsibility from Crunchyroll when accounts are compromised, possibly even in a data breach where they're at fault. Well-intentioned fans were quick to notice the phrasing, but are erroneously associating it with a recent update to the TOS. Thanks to the Internet Archive, we can see a variation of the offending phrase has been a part of Crunchyroll's TOS since the earliest snapshot in 2008. You are responsible for safeguarding and maintaining the confidentiality of your username, password, and corresponding Crunchyroll account information. You agree to not disclose your password to anyone. You agree that you are entirely and solely responsible for any and all activities or actions that occur under your Crunchyroll account, whether or not you have authorized such activities or actions. Admittedly, these kinds of clauses are relatively common and enable Crunchyroll to apply consequences even if someone says, oops, my account got hacked, that wasn't me, after doing something like dropping spoilers in the episode 1 comments. Regardless, it's a poor look for Crunchyroll as fears of a potential data breach have been stoked by the recent leak of passwords. So add this to the list of Crunchyroll's many, many crimes against anime. I mean, aside from the destruction of Right Stuff, which was one of the best anime retailers out there, the absorption of literally any streaming service that they can get their hands on, the misappropriation of funds that were supposedly going to Japanese animation studios, but ended up going to making stuff like High Guardian Spice. The list goes on and on and on. They haven't had a good record. And now, this being a Sony-related company, the data breach is honestly par for the course. We expect that. I mean, I can go as far back as Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which would have been like the 2012 era, when Sony got hacked by Lizard Squad and they fucked my entire Black Ops 2 account. Now, I ended up making out better in the end because of data manipulations and stuff that happened, and I ended up getting achievements that I hadn't actually unlocked. Oh yeah, that's another thing I forgot about. Well, spoilers are no longer a problem since they stopped all comments. Yeah, I forgot that was a thing. Crunchyroll basically aren't the most popular platform right now. I mean, what can I say? I mean, they've done this themselves. I always thought that Funimation had a better player. They also had the digital library thing. That's the other thing. They didn't carry over people's digital libraries. I could probably sit here and keep like remembering things for the next, I don't know how long, but it ain't worth it. The point is, Crunchyroll has kind of consistently shot themselves in the foot, and the only thing keeping them afloat is the fact that they're attached to Sony. I mean, they're getting outpaced as far as anime goes by Amazon and Netflix. Yeah, I don't know how long this company is actually going to stay solvent, stay active. I don't. But I think that's everything I kind of wanted to cover tonight. So we're going to wrap. Hit the news, talk about anime, hit the news. Oh, there actually was one last thing I did want to talk about. And that is Witch Hat Atelier, because I've been reading that. And I've consistently forgot to mention it. Actually a really, really good manga that I do recommend. If you ever wanted like actual like anime / manga Harry Potter experience, Witch Hat Atelier is actually a really good one. It does a lot of like the whimsical, fun elements of magic that Harry Potter does in the first couple of books, and it also has a good story and characters who I can actually like feel invested in, whether it's Agate or wow, why am I forgetting the fucking characters' names? The main character, the teacher. There's a lot of good characters involved in the story. The artwork is also really good. So everything about it is worth checking out. And they also have like they do kind of have like a Snape-ish character. Like the hard-ass professor. He's not exactly the same. I don't think you could make the full comparison, but he is a little bit reminiscent of it. But if you've ever been interested or you want a decent like fantasy manga to pick up, I actually believe it's getting an anime here soon. Witch Hat Atelier is definitely worth a read. I'd like to do a little bit more in-depth video, but I still have a couple of volumes to read in my collection before I do that. That and Centuria have been really good reads. It looks like I might also need to pick up Ube Blet because a lot of people are saying that the manga is so much better than what the anime has done. So anything else? I mean, I've read some like junky fantasy anime like Cave King's Road to Paradise, but I wouldn't exactly rate those very high. I need to be more consistent about talking about the anime and manga that I've been reading. Or not anime and manga, just the manga that I've been reading. Because I do read quite a bit. Anyway, it is a good time to wrap because I've covered everything I wanted to hit tonight. It's been about an hour and a half. So thank you to everyone who's been here. You can follow me on Twitter if you really want to keep up with what I'm doing. I post my video updates over there. I scream into the void about any number of topics. Here. That's the Harry Potter one. Anyway, I have started working on another video essay, so I don't know when that's going to be out. The script is in production. I'm currently working on that. Those take a lot longer for me to sort through. We'll probably do Ube Blet this week for a video, as well as I don't know, what do we got on the list that I haven't talked about a ton. I don't know. Maybe I'll roll the dice on one and talk about something unusual. But definitely do want to do Ube Blet, so that will probably be the Wednesday video. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a good weekend. and hope to see you next time. With that said, let's play us out.